folks.
Hi, my name is Patrick Palmer, longtime Allentonian. I'd say going on 24, 25 years. I'm only 31, so basically all my life out here.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's for me. I've always been doing a lot of what I do. When you say making a splash now, it's more. When I started a few years ago, I'd say it was like 7, 8 years ago, my aunt used to tell me, don't do any of this for recognition. Just do it because you want to.
Mm-hmm.
So when I would do something, it would just be, just me, just doing it, just helping out the best I can. And even now, like, this is kind of new to me.
Yeah.
Where, you're posting it on Facebook, you're posting it on Instagram, you're telling people. And it's like, oh, I'm not used to doing that. Like,
Right.
I used to, like, one of the things I used to do was, like, Habitat for Humanity.
Okay.
So that's,
okay.
like, building homes.
Okay, yeah.
And I would just go out and do it with Dan from Dan's Camera City.
Love Dan.
Yeah, and I
know Dan.
had no idea I was doing that with him because he was the same way. He wouldn't do anything for recognition. So I
Wow.
ran into him again, and I was like, I know you. And he was like, I know you too. I don't know from where. And I was like, you taught me how to cut a roof. And he was like, yes, that was it.
You're
And I was
Dan.
like, yeah, you're Dan. And he was like, yeah, how you been? And I was like, what are you doing here? He's like, oh, I'm Dan from Dan's Camera City.
Wow.
And it was at an event, a leadership event. And
Yeah.
I was like, wait, you never told us that. He was like,
Wow.
why would I? I'm just doing stuff to help people out. And I was just like, oh, man. And someone was sitting there and they were like, wait, you used to build homes? And I was like, yeah, I
Yeah.
used to do that stuff. Yeah, that was, I just didn't do it for the recognition.
Absolutely. We're going to elaborate a little bit more on that. But last Sunday we talked about
We
that
did.
because we've been, we always follow a lot of stories and what good work the artists or celebrities are doing, or folks, period, in general, around the world. And we were talking about the Carters, how, for a long time they were doing a lot of work, but they wouldn't publicize it, Jay-Z and Beyonce. Here, as of lately, you're seeing a lot more of it. And I'm liking that. At first I liked the fact that they weren't publicizing it, but now I actually like it because I feel like you're setting an example, you're showing it. It's okay for you to we'll boast about a new pair of shoes if we get it, or
Exactly.
a present. So why not boast about something wonderful that you
Good deed.
Yeah. And it rubs off, hopefully.
And I also think it's
fine.
because social media too now. You know what I mean? So it's more accessible to see what somebody's doing now.
That's true.
Before it was more behind the scenes.
Yeah.
If they didn't necessarily put an article out about what you're doing, you might not
never
necessarily know. But now everything is so, like you said, posting and all. You got to post it. You have to see it,
It's a
like
moment
it, share
that you
it.
want to share.
And
You
I
should.
feel like we need to counteract like the media, the news in general, because you're not really going to see that too much. But if I go to like Facebook and I see something, and it'll be, the one thing I like to bring up is Akon, who
Come
gave
on.
electricity to Africa and built
Exactly.
schools. I've never seen that on the news.
Come on.
Ever.
Exactly.
Come on.
But then you go on the social media
And it's all-
that's all over the timeline, and you're like, well, this should be something that everyone should be seeing here.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's a prime example. When you say Akon, that is someone who I feel like is just not getting shined, like
At all.
At all.
But just like Akon, though, look at how much money Akon has. He could publish an article in the New York Post and
Sure could.
say this is what I'm doing, but he's doing just like Patrick said, he's just doing what he wants to do, you
Yeah.
know, and it's being recognized because of what he's doing.
Right.
So it's like,
But it's not something that he himself, put
because
out there.
he could easily make sure that the world knows exactly what
Yeah.
he's doing. You know what I mean?
That
But
man-
At the
Done
same
some
time, the
great
New
work.
York Post can see that he's doing that. If
Exactly.
we
And
can
why
see it,
don't
they
they
can see it.
Just like any
Exactly.
other story that they pick up and
Yeah,
post.
but
not
they'll
shock
tell you about
value.
a black kid that robbed a store and then got shot
Oh,
or
of
something like
course.
that immediately.
Exactly.
front page.
Yeah.
Patrick, don't get us started. Let's give these people their horoscopes, and we are going to get into all of that. You got me. And let me tell you, you got Miss Mello on the right side over there. We're going to talk some good stuff here, all very necessary conversation. I like to make people feel uncomfortable. You get what I'm saying? If it's an uncomfortable conversation, most of the time it's a necessary conversation to
Very
be
true.
had. All right. So,
The angles.
exactly. All about the angles. You know that. How many times have you heard that? Patrick, let's get down to business. Can you tell me, if you had to tell me what your top, let's start with your top three. I know there's a lot that you care about. In my research with you, I see all the work that you've been doing for a while. But the top three things for you Let's start with that.
Homelessness. That's huge in Allentown right now, and it's and a lot of what I've done, I've seen. It's not just the homeless; it's the people that are one paycheck away from being homeless. It's the people that are working 3 jobs, and let's say they get sick one day, and one of those jobs is Amazon. You get sick one day, and all of a sudden they're like, okay, don't come back. And that turns into a situation where then they become homeless. So there's a huge homeless population, but there's even more people that are living just one paycheck away from being that individual. Another one is just the job situation, the job security in Allentown. When you look at Allentown, there are high-paying jobs here. They're just not going to individuals who live here. 80% of the jobs that are paying $80,000 or more are going to people who don't live in Allentown. So we need to do something to make sure that those jobs are staying in Allentown and they're staying with our Allentown residents. And then another one that's really huge is the safety here in Allentown. And I don't just mean safety from, you being robbed on the street or something like that, but safety all around. And it kind of goes into trauma that the individuals of Allentown are suffering from. And it's trauma that's something that's born into you. So there was a study that was done where, people took mice. They had taken good care of the one set, taken bad care of another set.
Okay.
Well, when they had babies, their brains were born differently. So those babies were born with trauma in them from that second set. So even if you realize it or not, like let's say you're adopted or something, you carry traits from your parents that even if you've never met them. And unfortunately, one of the things you carry is the trauma from them too. So we need to do something about not just, when I say safety, I mean taking care of our residents and the trauma that they receive. So if you get, let's say something happens, you carry that for the rest of your life where something bad can happen to you, and it happens to individuals all the time, and then they don't feel safe anymore. They don't trust, let's say, the police anymore. They don't trust their neighbors anymore. They don't trust the judges anymore. They don't trust individuals in our community that are supposed to be protecting us anymore. And we need to do something about that. So safety goes into a lot of different issues, and that's why it's one of the top ones for me too.
Yeah. I get that, because there's nothing that happens after the incident to, kind of repair the damage, help them move forward, right? I feel like it's almost like the timeline thing on Facebook. It's, important for a little bit, and then it's old news, and everybody forgets that this person has to carry that. Someday they're going to be an adult. And
the people who don't forget are the ones who went through the situation. So I have a talk show on Tuesdays where I bring people on, and so I had an individual on, and she was a victim of violence. Her son was unfortunately killed. And in that, having a conversation with her, you realize that's not going away. Sure, you can catch who did it, but what are the police doing, or what are the community as a whole doing to help her get past it, And unfortunately, there's not much being done. So one thing is, police, they're not customer service reps. They're not there to make you feel good, but they can. So I know that you have rules, but there's nothing preventing you from, let's say, giving someone a welcoming call back, a warming call back. There's not something preventing you from checking in on someone 3-4 months later, and that's stuff that you can do for someone that would help them in the community. So when I become mayor, that's something that we want. We want more transparency. We want more togetherness between the community and the officers.
Yeah.
So we don't just want officers just to be there when there's a problem. We want them to be there. We want them to be walking around on your blocks. We want them to get to know you. Miss Jones just baked an apple pie. She has no problem, giving a piece to Officer Jefferson, something like that. We want to be able to build a better community than just, let's say, we have more police, we're good to go. No, it's not about that. It's what are you doing with the resources you have to take preventative measures to make sure that something doesn't happen. So I'm also on a steering committee for our Zero Youth Violence. And something we do with that is we take individuals who have been through situations, who have, maybe been part of a gang or something like that, or
Right.
been arrested or something. And those are the prime individuals that we use, and we put them back into the community, and we put them in crime areas to help the community, to talk to people in the community. And that's kind of a preventative measure, because we look at crime as not just, or violence is not just something that's bad and needs to be stamped out. No, we look at it as disease that just needs a cure.
Yeah.
So if we stop that from spreading,
Yes.
because one thing is, violence is just retaliation a lot of times.
Yeah.
So if we stop that retaliation from spreading, we could have just saved someone's life. We could have just stopped
Sure.
someone from being shot. We could have just stopped someone from being killed, because we had someone in the community that the community trusts.
Yeah.
And instead of just going to get a gun, they're going to talk to this individual. They're going to see what else they can do. They're going to have a conversation, a heart-to-heart,
Yeah.
because they trust this individual. And let's face it, they don't trust the police. So they're not going to go talk to the police if they get, like, robbed or something.
Right.
But they'll talk to this individual. So,
Yeah.
So
They
it's
could build their own, like force, their own team, because what I'm liking about that, because I'm guessing every parent, if they read another story of another kid getting shot down or whatever, it's almost they relive when they lost their son or daughter
Yeah.
in the same instance. So it's nice that they could keep kind of like compiling and keep growing and then all together become our own force of power and safety.
Yeah.
But Patrick, you mentioned the police officers. As an Allentonian, you know what Allentown was once upon a time.
Mm-hmm.
And I do remember once upon a time when you knew your neighborhood police officer's name, and they knew your parents, and they knew you, and I could remember, if something happened in the community, you seeing a little bit more of their presence, and whatever, Slim, that's from the neighborhood, do a couple extra rounds, and he makes sure that you see him there, and I'm making sure
Forming
everything's
trust.
okay.
Yeah.
Forming
Yeah,
trust.
we don't have that
We
anymore.
had that before. What do you think happened there, right? And then I want to talk a little bit about what you with the police force would be able to do, or how can we get them involved? The community, yes, we definitely have to call each other out and play our role. And I think that Zero to Youth Violence is great. We had actually Shalon on here on our show. So we are definitely backing that up as a community. But the police officers, tell me what talks you have there when you're sitting at the table with them.
I've had talks with officers, and it's a lot of mixed feelings on it. There are officers that do want to just be walking around the community. There are officers that want to be engaged with the community. Unfortunately, there's always going to be some bad apples. There's some people that don't agree with, they don't want to be walking around the community. And there's some officers that don't even want to live here. They say because they don't want their family here, they don't want to be, I guess, a target. And I look at it as, if you think you're going to be a target, then something's wrong here. So
It's the number
when I
one
have,
problem.
Yeah, I mean, the
Fear for
narrative
their
has
life.
to change.
Absolutely.
It seems like, in my opinion, it seems like there's a negative cloud over Allentown. And I feel like we need somebody, hopefully you, to come in and take that cloud and bring more positivity to our city. I've lived in worse cities that have crime rates that are triple what our crime rate is and things that are happening. But there's a narrative that Allentown is bad. I don't want to live here. This is a bad city. It's a violent city. I hear it all the time.
Yeah, and if your own police
You could look.
officers
You could
are
go. You
saying
could look
that,
at a morning call article,
Yeah, that is.
and you can see what people are saying under these comments. These are people that
live right here.
Sometimes they live close to here, but sometimes they live right outside. They're still in Allentown, but they still have a lot of negative things. That's why I don't go to Allentown.
Yeah.
We stay away from Allentown. I think the narrative has to change and bring back the positivity of our community, and the police are a major force in that. They should be doing a little bit more to shape the binds of our relationships so that we have a better trust when it comes to police officers. And because with things that are going on right now with police officers, I feel like there's two different justice systems.
So you're saying they're scared too. So they're probably going to be looking for you also for a sense of comfort and security, just like we are on our side.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Go ahead with the conversation. What gets done then?
And that's where you come back with the transparency. So people are scared of the unknown. they don't know what the police officers are doing. They don't know what's going on with them. They see an officer walking their block right now, they think something's wrong. So when you bring back the transparency and you let people know, hey, that guy's just walking his beat. That guy's just actually here to talk to you. You know, you have officers that are in the neighborhood. You have them doing different things in the neighborhood. You have them, you know, those police hubs that we used to have, that we technically still have. Why don't you have someone back in those? Someone that people could just come up to and talk to.
Exactly.
Because when they're seeing you and they're seeing your presence, when it's not something going wrong, then they don't assume that something's going wrong. Then they don't assume that you're looking for trouble.
Exactly.
Then they don't assume that something bad just happened. And that's how you start to rebuild, by getting them back to being involved in the community. And God bless them. There's some that are really involved in the community that you see everywhere.
Yeah.
And then there's others that you didn't even know that was an officer. So
Sure.
there's situations where, you know, you start bringing them back in, you start building that transparency. And another thing that I want to have is an accountability board for the police. So that can be regular individuals from the city making sure that the police, when they're doing their job correctly. So you then can hold the officers accountable to what they're doing. So if you have a situation where, like, there's some kind of, let's say, racist act or something that takes place, this goes in front of that board, and then they can handle that. Because when you have the police policing the police,
come on, they got a code, the blue, you know what I'm saying, the blue code, the brothers code.
Yeah, it doesn't always go the way you would expect it to go. Let's put it that way. It doesn't go how you would expect it.
Sir.
Exactly.
Yes, sir. Listen, people are talking to you here. They got some questions for you. So I'm going to back up a little bit and let them, our co-hosts, ask you some questions. Mike, I know I would love for you to call in, but definitely put your question in here and I'll address it for you, okay? Linda Vega, Allentown School Board. What is the percentage of Allentown police officers who do live in Allentown?
Man, that is a low percent. Last I saw, before they hired some more, and that was a few months ago, it was around 20 something.
Oh, okay.
Really?
Yeah,
Very small.
You said 12 something.
20 something.
20 something.
I think it was 23. It wasn't really that high.
Wow.
Yeah.
How about something that says that you have to live here to?
I would love that. I would love.
You know what
that
I'm
says
saying?
that.
Like, why wouldn't that be a prerequisite already? You know?
Or make sure that if they don't, then they move here. Then they move.
That's
into
what I
the
was gonna
community.
say, yeah.
One or the
Yeah.
other. Like,
Yeah, I'd love something like that, and I want to put something like that in place where, you know, that way you're engaged with the community.
Right.
You know, if an officer's scared for his family to live here, then why are you patrolling here? That means you're
Yeah.
scared of the people here.
Exactly.
thank you.
Yeah, that means when you go to a situation, you're already fearing for your life at that point.
And do you care enough about it if it's not your own community? You know what I'm saying? Like,
No.
if it's your own that you're living in,
Yeah.
then you're more attentive and you care more about it. So it's your job, yes, but it's also your home base, you know? So it would bring in that human aspect to the job that we,
Exactly.
need. I think that is missing. Okay, another question.
Your
Let's
sister
see.
had a question.
Okay, go ahead. You see it?
Yeah. The other Linda Vega, your sister, said, how do you feel about the gentrification going on downtown? What would you like to see happen about it? What would you like to see happen about it?
The gentrification downtown. How much time do we have? Oh,
Exactly.
That's a sticky situation. You don't want gentrification to happen in your city, no matter what. And people say that's just a buzzword that individuals use for growth and progress. No, it's not. It is pushing black and brown individuals out of downtown, but it doesn't have to. I would love to be able to build the surrounding communities up. And not just, when I say build up, I don't mean putting in high rises all over the surrounding community.
Right.
I mean making sure that the surrounding community then can benefit from it. So not just the small businesses on Hamilton Street benefiting from it, but what are we doing to make sure individuals go outside of Hamilton Street? You know, and what are we doing to make sure that individuals outside of Hamilton Street have somewhere to live?
Yes.
So I would love to have, like, affordable housing around the area. I would love to make sure that we have just market rate rent around the area. So it's not something where individuals can still move in and they could still enjoy the area, But that way we would be able to have something where the rent is $800. That's affordable as opposed to $1,400.
Right.
And then we could still have individuals who do need the assistance, but it's mixed in. So that's basically mixed income housing that would be going on there. And so one example that I give is we're building that new school on 12th.
Okay. Yeah.
We're emptying out Cleveland. When we empty out Cleveland, what are we going to do with that property? So I give the example of we can use that property to start some mixed income housing. So we can have individuals that are on assistance. They will be able to live in that property. You know, you have to build it and make sure it's apartment ready.
Sure.
But that way you have individuals that do need the assistance. They have somewhere to live. Individuals that can afford it, they're paying $800 and it's mixed in. You use Hanover Acres as an example. You don't know who's making six figures and who's not over there.
That's right.
Yes, so it's perfect. It can be done.
It can.
We're just not doing it right now, and it's something that the residents in that area need because they're the ones who are being pushed out. They're the ones who can't afford to live over there because that $1,400 high rise just increased their rent. Our rent went up 25% in the last 2 years.
Yeah.
Why is our rent going up so high? But has your pay gone up 25%?
No, sir.
No.
So there's obviously a situation here when your rent to income is the worst in the entire country. That's the only thing Allentown's the best in is how bad our rent to income is.
Yeah.
So we need to do something about that. We need to make sure that our kids have somewhere to stay. Our kids' kids have somewhere to live. And we need to make sure they have jobs that they can go to and afford to be able to pay their rent.
That's economics 101. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? Like,
Yes.
you know, you got to have that margin
It's almost common
for
sense.
spending because spending is what makes the economy work. But if we don't have the money to spend it, we can't put it back into it. You know, I talk about Hamilton all the time. I remember a day when Hamilton was booming, and it was because it had stores that had
It's like a Woolworth
prices
over there.
Oh,
Yes.
man.
that
shout out to
matched
Woolworth.
our, you know, and you know what? And you could take it to New York fashions. You know what I'm saying? You could take it to even our most urban stores. Those
Yeah.
stores, there was never any problems. It never brought a bad stigma to the block. It brought money to the city because people were out here spending money. It was packed.
And it was affordable.
affordable. Exactly.
You know what I mean?
You know, it's so funny. Yesterday I was talking about an incident that happened to me at the 7-Eleven. I live in the Hamilton district, right on Hamilton itself. But if I'm on my way home, 7-Eleven is the only one that's open, you know, late at night. So I stop there and I get whatever I get. And I was just talking about some, you know, an incident that was happening there, which to me was funny, you know. It's just one of the, like an uncle you got, you know what I mean, that acts a fool. Some type of situation like that, you know. But I'm just thinking to myself, like, it's so crazy that that is going on right there, and catty corner to there are condominiums being rented out for like $1,200-$1,400. That just doesn't make any sense.
And it's like those people that are renting it out are scared to go 2 blocks the other direction. And it's eye opening, and it's sad where it's like it's a different community over there, but it's still in the same one city.
It's still in the
Exactly.
same one city. Exactly.
How do we bridge the gap? How do we balance that and make sure everyone feels welcome? I want an all-inclusive city where it doesn't matter if you're on Hamilton or it doesn't matter if you're on 4th and Turner. Like, you're still feeling the same way about your city, and it's your city.
Exactly. And I think it starts like right here with conversation, actually talking about it. Because most people just see it and they don't bring it to the forefront or try to do anything about it.
John Smith wants to know what you think about city government corruption.
In my honest opinion,
Hey,
I
that's
think
all
it's
we're
still,
about here.
I think it's something that hasn't been stamped out yet, to be honest. And I'm not disrespecting anyone. I'm not talking badly about anyone, but there's individuals that were around for that, and even if they had nothing to do with it, you should have been able to stop that. So when you're the mayor, there's checks and balances. There's a whole council that's supposed to balance you out, and there's a president of the council that's supposed to balance you out. So when that individual then becomes the next one in charge, he should have been stopping the individual before.
Yeah.
So if he's, and I'll just use the tax situation as an example, if he's presenting you year after year no tax increases, at some point, as just because you're supposed to balance it out, you're supposed to say, our city can't thrive like this. We can't build like this. We
Right.
can't continue
What's
like this.
wrong?
What are you doing aside from raising taxes to make sure that we're still collecting funds and putting things in the general fund?
Yes.
If you have no response to that, then you need to go back to the drawing board instead of just yesing it up. And once again, I'm not attacking anyone, but I feel like, and then what happened when I interviewed, it's like, it's just continuations of that. And until it's empty, you can't say that it's completely gone. So, and I hate to do this, but when you have cancer, you cut it all out. You don't cut out a part of it and then let it continue.
Facts.
You cut the whole thing out.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm feeling like, and I don't have any, I'm not blaming anyone once again. I'm just saying, like, until you cut it all out, how do you know it's not still going on?
Yeah. About
true.
accountability, you know, because we talk about the police force needing that within each other, and I think that you're right. These government officials need that also, the checks and balances. It seems like that just doesn't happen anymore. Just because you're in that position, you just get to run amok, and nobody's, checking in on you. Nobody's asking the questions that they need to ask, no matter how uncomfortable it is. Where's that money? What are you doing? This doesn't look right. You have to hold your leaders accountable for that. Would you say that's the biggest corruption we have going on right now? I mean, I think that with Allentown and what happens with our previous mayor, I feel like, people probably think that's the
Well, I think there's
like maybe that cancer was cut out because of what happened, with that mayor. What do you think?
I wouldn't feel like it was completely cut out just based on the fact that there was someone on the other line that was talking to him about it. And until everyone that was involved in it is in the same place as him, I wouldn't feel like it's ever actually cut out. And we won't ever know who else was involved in it. A few individuals went to jail, but there were a few bad contracts.
Yeah.
And there were contracts that we know that were a little iffy.
Yeah.
And
the ones that went through and got
Exactly.
away with it, they're still out there.
yeah, so I can't ever say, it's
all
completely
cut out.
gone.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right. Exactly. You're absolutely right. Let's see here. Okay. Nice Jones says all these issues will change when it starts at the community level and the culture shifting along with more self-policing and accountability. Just my 2 pennies. They're shiny pennies. And no, I agree. I think that that's definitely what it takes is for us to get some leaders like you guys that actually have a sense of morale and actually, and you're very basic. Wait, I don't want to use the word basic. That would be
man, you just called me
maybe
basic.
disrespectful. I know. That's a trigger word. What I'm trying to say is that, like how I said, economics 101. You know what I mean? Like, you're not saying these crazy ideas that can help resolve these issues that we're bringing up. You know what I mean?
That's why I said it's almost common sense.
You haven't asked for, trillions of dollars.
Yeah.
You haven't asked for, a roundup of, whatever. Let's go to DC and, kick. But you're not asking for anything that's over the top. It's simple stuff. Like you said, checks and balances, making sure your neighbor's acting right. If they're at the table with you, and also not just talking about it, but plan to action.
Yeah, like I said, the neighbors
and being
checking in,
considered,
the
yeah.
neighbors making sure you're okay. And a lot of the crime that's happened is because no snitch rules. Like, and that's the neighborhood. That's not the police telling you not to snitch. The police want you to come forward.
Oh, yeah.
But the neighbors are out there saying, don't snitch, don't snitch, don't snitch. And then murders go unsolved, and then those people that are out in the streets can commit another crime and another crime. Because once you get away with one, then it releases a toxin in your brain that you can continue to do this. And it's called the trash can theory, where someone kicks over a trash can and then no one does anything about it. And then all of a sudden that builds up. So now you went from kicking over trash cans, now you're doing graffiti. No one called you out on it. Now you're robbing a store. No one caught you. And it starts to build and continue until, unfortunately, something else happens. And if someone's out there committing murder or something like that, and then no one does anything about it, who knows what they're going to do next? Sure. So at some point, the community needs to come together and say, we're not going to allow this, because the police can't be everywhere, and they can't solve crimes without help. And if you're not calling the police, and they don't even know the crime's going on.
Yeah.
So you all need to take, or the community needs to take accountability as well and say, maybe I can call the police. Maybe I should call the police. This person's causing problems in my neighborhood and won't stop. So we need to do something about this.
Absolutely.
And she's saying that you are not asking for trillions of dollars and things like that. But I do have a scenario question. So say you were to receive $1 million grant that you could use for the city, and in any way you wanted to, how would you use that?
Oh man, $1 million grant. I'd probably use it for our children's futures in some way.
Okay.
I don't know exactly how much it would take to like revamp a already built building, but to make sure that it has something like internet access, it has computers that these children can do web design, it has something for the children to do after school and also help them learn and grow. Because when you I go to the high schools a lot, and I see, and shout outs to Shannon Mayfield, but he had to go back to the school board multiple times just to get money for some new computers. So I would assist with something like that to make sure that, you know, if a kid wants to do graphic design, he can. If a child wants to learn a trade, he can. If a child wants to just learn something different, they can. Because right now, all they see is, well, I gotta go work at a factory. I gotta go work at McDonald's. I gotta go do something like that. And that's not the end all be all.
Yeah.
You know, these children just need an avenue to learn to grow, and that helps with, you know, some of these children don't have parents at home because they're out working. That helps with that. That gives them somewhere to go, a safe space to be able to learn, to be able to grow. And it also helps prevent violence because now they're not out on the street.
Yeah, staying busy.
Now they're here learning a trade, and who knows, like that individual could be out there doing something that could end up saving a life.
Yeah.
Because they're over there learning instead of being out on the street or just home with nothing to do. So, I mean, when you invest back in the community and you invest back in the children, that causes your community to grow.
I agree.
And once again, I don't know how much the million would take, but, you know, something like building up the parks, making sure, because when you build up the park system, you build up giving children something to do, that creates a better community overall.
That's what I said. I mean, there's kids out here that don't see a future.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So creating something like that can show them that there is a future. They can't see it if they don't know that's possible. You know what I mean? So if they don't have access to internet as other students do in different districts and things like that, they're not going to be able to see the elevation that they can have.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So they become dormant and they say, oh, this is all I can do. This is all I can have. You know what I mean? We show them a better way than they can see it, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. I feel also like the skills that you could show them, right, that they got from like wood shopping class and all that stuff, all of those things, you know, a lot of these kids, I know at least two that had made their own companies, you know, from that skill set, you know what I mean, that they learned. So, you know, it would address the job situation, I feel like, you know, for us, like being able to reinvest within your own community because now you have your own business, you know, with the skill set that you learned from school. Or I love LCTI.
I love them too.
People definitely don't give LCTI enough credit for what it could do for their kids' future. You know what I mean? I think people get caught up in like, it has to be at school, you know, college. Like nobody really looks at the opportunity that LCTI can give these young folks. Anyhow, but what I'm saying is that, you know, with allowing them to be able to create those opportunities for themselves, or us creating those opportunities for them, then it could allow them to buy that broken down house on their block and built it up, or that corner store, instead of the person that's coming from out of town and investing in the community and taking that money and spending it somewhere else. Oh
yeah, and I love LCTI, and so me and a woman named Julie Thomas from Promise Neighborhoods, we started a program called Inside Allentown for Teens, and it's based on something like that, where what we do is we take the teens from, right now it's Allen High School, and we take them around Allentown. So we take them to City Hall, we take them to meet the mayor, we take them to the Planning Commission, Public Works, recycling, all the different avenues that go in the city government, because these children they're not shown these different avenues. And one of the things they didn't even realize is you don't need a college education for any of these jobs. You just have to be wanting to do these jobs. And now we have about 12 children. All of them want to do one of these jobs. All of them. Because they didn't know that they had the option of doing one of these jobs.
Exactly.
So what I'm doing is I'm listening. Instead of telling them, you need to go do this, you need to go do that, I'm giving them an avenue. I'm giving them an option.
Yeah.
Do you want to take road B or do you want to take road A?
Yeah.
You don't know which road you want to take right now, but let's see if maybe you want to take this one.
Yeah.
Now we have people who are coming back in the summer and they want to do planning. They want to help out with building, with zoning. They want to do these things because they didn't know that these were options in the first place. And that's all I want to do is just give these children options.
Yeah. Talk more about all of these other things that they could be, you know, because sometimes if they feel like they can't reach what we always think is like the best, standard for them, they give up, like you said. They're just like, okay, well, the best thing I could do is keep my 9 to 5, and,
Exactly.
and that's it.
Because a lot of times you go into these buildings, City Hall, etc. You don't see people that look like you.
No.
So you don't really see that vision that maybe that could be me in that person's chair.
Exactly.
But if you never see somebody that looks like you in that high seat, you kind of get discouraged, especially as a child. You know.
That is true.
That's one of the reasons why I'm doing this. I'm literally not doing this for me at this point. This is so when I go into, like, let's say Central Elementary, or I go into like Dot or something like that, that little kid can see and say, okay, I can do that too. I can be someone who's in charge too. I can be better than what I thought I could be. Exactly. And it's just for that. Yeah. Like, at the end of the day, it's to make sure that these kids know they have options and know that they're not just pushed into one place or shuffled into one area.
Yeah, exactly. I do want to address the homeless situation. You brought it up as one of your most important issues or topics. We've had Tommy here before. He does Operation.
I love Tommy.
Address
Oath.
Oath, exactly. We had him on here. And we got to really dig in on the work that he's been doing there. One of the things that he talked about was the trauma that comes with these folks that are homeless. The fact that they all go to this one shelter and they get a curfew, they get these, set rules, but there's nothing that's being done to address the trauma, to address why they're there, to address maybe the mental health disease that one has, to address the abuse that the other one had, to address, whatever each individual person is going through in there, addressing it so that they don't come back to that same place. He's like, right now you just have them all going into one place, they check in, they check out, and it's just a vicious cycle. It's going and keep going and keep going. So with his work, he's trying to change that narrative, so he knows John, the homeless guy, first and last name, and a little bit more of his background and why John is in that situation. And then Candace, whatever, like everybody has a name and their own story. Do you like that approach? I feel like that makes so much sense. Again, another basic idea, but nobody's doing it.
Yeah, and I want to expand on that too. Tommy and Carolyn, shout out to Carolyn too. They're doing the groundwork, and it's great, but you're not getting any help from the legislation up top. And one thing I want to expand on is how he was mentioning how they're not getting that assistance. It's something so simple. St. Luke's is doing it right now, where they have vans in front of certain schools at certain times, and they do checkups on children. They check to make sure they're okay. They check their dental. They check things, the mental, all of that. Why can't we have the same thing as a city? It's not like it's insane on the cost. It's pretty cost effective at that point. And we just check in on individuals who are, like you're saying, being funneled in and funneled right back out. So you can have like a social worker who's checking their mental health, who's making sure if they are homeless and it's for a mental reason, for some kind of mental health, you can get the proper paperwork done right there. It would take a while, I understand that, but it's just dedicated to just helping these individuals right then and there. So that way we can go ahead and have someone that's, if it is for a mental health reason, now you're getting the assistance you desperately needed before, but you had no avenue to turn to. So one of the problems is we're not meeting them. We need to be able to meet them to give them an avenue to turn to. Even simple rehabilitation processes that are done in other cities. One of the things that people do is you take an apartment building and you use an empty apartment building and you use that as a way where you can have a rehabilitation program. You can give a homeless individual a place to live for, let's say, 3-4 months. You give them an address because jobs require an address. You give them internet access so they can fill out applications, because when they're trying to fill out applications, they're going into stores asking for paper. Oh, you got to go online. Well, how are they going to get online?
Right.
Exactly.
You can't get a library card without an address. This is an endless cycle.
Gosh.
So now they have that address. Now they have the internet access. Now they have a place. Now they can start to fill out these applications. They can get themselves a job. They can get back on their feet. And then within a few months, they're right back out. But they're productive members of society at that point. They're paying bills. They're helping society. They're buying food. They're buying items. So they're right back to being productive members of society. And it's a simple fix. It's not something that's reinventing the wheel. It's something that's been done in other places. We're just not doing it here.
Right.
I agree.
Oh my gosh. I love this. Our interviews are never long enough. We felt like that with the Linda too, right? We were like, Linda, we gotta have
every
you
interview,
back.
every interview, every interview.
I know. I'm telling you, we could easily have, especially us here with the stuff that we bring up, we could easily have a lot of hours to talk. Patrick, we have important dates coming up. We want folks to make it to these elections for the vote, to the voting polls, for you, for Linda, for the leaders. You know, we're in no way trying to sway anybody's votes. We want you guys. He's someone that wants to come and sit down with the outlet. Patrick, you reached out to us and we reached out to you. We together wanted to bring these messages to the people. But I want people to vote educatedly. I want them to know their candidates, know what issues are important to them, and what issues their candidates are addressing. And so then what dates should they be looking forward to as far as voting goes? I know registration is already too late for the primaries.
For the primaries, yes. The registration closed on April 22nd, but the important date is May 21st. That's the primary date. That's when you want to get out and vote. And I know you guys aren't supporting me, but I'm supporting me. So get out and vote for Patrick Palmer on May 21st. Get us through the primary so we can go ahead and make sure that we have the right person in office and someone who cares about the community, someone who knows and understands the trauma that this community has gone through and is willing to go ahead and fix that and make sure that not just for while I'm in office, but when I leave, there's things in place to make sure that this trauma is taken care of for our children's children, to make sure they're not born with that inside their brains and it's just another ending cycle that's taking place.
That's right. That's right.
Can't go wrong with that. I'm sorry.
No.
You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
You cannot go wrong with that. So
Yeah, you definitely shined some light on a lot of really, really, really important topics. I want to thank you so much for the time.
Definitely.
Can I bring up one more thing?
Sure.
Because I wanted to call all of you out on this.
We're on the hot seat.
On May 11th, I've gotten a few community members together. I've gotten some churches together. What we're going to do is we're going to take the community back into our own hands. Okay. We're going to paint Dodd Elementary. This is going to be something where we're just a bunch of people from the community getting together, painting the school, fixing it up. Over the summer, there's going to be a revamp that goes on. But right now, we're just painting some of the classrooms. We'd love for you guys to come out. Can I get the commitment on May 11th here?
I'm there.
What time?
It's from like.
I was like,
I have to keep it 100 because I'm like my schedule. I'm thinking my mental calendar right now. I'm like, okay, May 11th. Let's go. I need all the details.
Right.
Down to the start time and the finish time.
Right.
Well, when you paint, you want to make sure that you're getting like 2 coats on, so you gotta let it dry.
Exactly, I gotta let it dry, and then
so it's like 9 a.m. to like I say 4. Yeah, we can feed.
We have any painters in the live?
Yeah.
I need to know how long it takes for the first
water.
coat.
You know, gotta make sure people are happy. You know, but so there's even a church that's planting trees around there. They're doing some mulch. It's like it's a whole revamp. Is what's taking place.
We'll definitely have a representative.
Yeah, with us 3, it's always like, okay, which one of us can make it? If not, all 3 of us can make it.
It's crazy.
I did tell you that Dodd holds a special place in my heart. I went to Dodd, Talia went to Dodd, and my and Gianni goes to Dodd.
I didn't know that. That's cool.
So it's 3 generational school for us, and I would love to do that. I think my granddaughter would even be happy to know that Nana. Nana.
Oh, I'm sorry, Nana did that.
She don't like the grandma.
Don't start none, Patrick. All right. No, listen, one positive note for the people. Right there's the camera. They're out there. They're listening to you.
May 21st, get out there and vote.
Let them know. Call them out.
That's it.
I need everyone, because I don't think we understand this city is a minority majority. So we need to get out and vote, get the right individuals who look like us, think like us, act like us, get them elected to their offices to make sure that they're taking care of us, to make sure they're doing the right thing by us and will continue to do the right thing by us. May 21st, get out and vote. I want to see record numbers out there voting, making sure that their voice is heard. Thank you.
Yeah, drop the mic on that right there.
Right, for real, mic drop.
Right. Thank you guys for tuning into the outlet. We're always trying to do work that is important for you. I hope we've done that today. Stay tuned. The reruns every Saturday. We're going to have this up on our YouTube channel. Please go there. Check out Linda's interview with the outlet as well. She goes over the issues that she's addressing in the Allentown School Board. Don't forget your special
Shout
dates.
out to Linda Vega.
And that's it, man. We out.
That's it. DJ J, Miss Mellow Lady D, Patrick Palmer in the building.
Thank you.